Good morning, students. Today, I'm going to explain you about a new chapter, that is animal relationships. You know that animals have good relationships among themselves, and this relationship will play an important role in the maintenance of the integrity of the ecosystem, and also it helps in the maintenance of ecological balance. And in this slide you see there are different types of relationships have been shown. uh, Let me go to the next slide. Different types of relations found among organisms, and relationships ensure food and space among organisms. These relationships are known as interactions, and on the basis of benefits and harmful effects, there are two types of interactions. One is positive interaction, another is negative interaction. In this chapter, you are supposed to learn about the types of animal relationships like mutualism, commensalism, parasitism, amensalism, predation, and competition with relevant examples. In natural environment or habitat, different types of plants, animals, and microorganisms exist in close association and show interdependence. None of these survive in isolation. Therefore, the association number of different interrelated population of several populations of several species in a common environment is called biotic community. Communities are not a random mixture of species. The members of a population adapted to the environment can share the habitat with the members of that population. As a result, there is an interaction between the organisms, and let us go through the types of interactions. The first one being positive interaction, as I said earlier. In case of this positive interaction, the members or one of the interacting members is benefited without harming the other. Example: commensalism, proto-cooperation, mutualism. Coming to the second type, negative interaction or antagonistic interaction. Here, one member is benefited and the other is harmed. Example: predation, parasitism, and competition. And apart from these two, there is another such type of interaction, what is called as neutral interaction. Here, both the members are neither benefited nor harmed. Example: insect eating birds and grain eating birds occupy the same farmland without benefiting or harming each other. Let me show you these different types of interactions in the form of a tabular column. And as you observe here, there are columns like interaction, and there'll be the two species are involved in any kind of interaction like species A and B. And in case of mutualism, both the partners are benefited, hence it is called mutualism, and that is being symbolized as plus plus. The second type will be commensalism, where one of the partner or the species A is benefited and species B is neither benefited nor harmed, hence it is represented by 0. And the third type, proto-cooperation, here both the partners are actually benefited, hence shown in the symbol plus plus. Then amensalism, here species A is going to be neither benefited nor harmed. Actually, it is nothing. It is not. It is kind of interaction where none of them is benefited, but one of them will be definitely harmed. That is, species B will be harmed, whereas species A is neither harmed nor benefited. Then coming to parasitism, here the species A is going to be benefited, hence represented or symbolized as plus, and species B is going to be harmed, hence negative symbol. And in case of predation, again species A is benefited, species B is harmed. And in case of cannibalism, species A is going to be benefited and species B is going to be harmed. And coming to competition, here usually in a competition both the partners are going to be harmed, hence represented by negative symbol. Positive interaction. Beneficial for one interacting partner, other partner is not harmed or both of them benefited. It includes mutualism and commensalism, as I said earlier. Coming to mutualism, it is an association between two organisms belonging to two different species where both depend on each other and cannot live without the association. Thus, it is an obligatory interaction that is strongly beneficial to both the species, and often the term symbiosis has been applied to this kind of relationship, but symbiosis properly refers to intimate association of two or more dissimilar organisms regardless of benefits or the lack of them. Example number 1, lichens. You know what lichens are? It is the association of an algae and fungi together forms lichens, and here algal member, that is phycobiont, it supplies the food, whereas fungi, that is mycobiont, it provides protection, water and minerals to algae. So both the partners are benefited here. Then example 2, termites and flagellate protozoans. Termites eat wood which they cannot digest. In their intestine, they have flagellated protozoans like Trichonympha, which secrete glucosidase, which helps to digest wood to sugars, which can be used by both the members. So here, both the partners are going to be benefited. Then example 3, ruminant and methanogen bacteria. And grazing animals like ruminants, like cows, buffaloes, elephants, etc., they have methanogen archaeobacteria in their stomach, and the bacteria produce cellulase enzyme which help in the digestion of cellulose of dry grass and other plant material which the ruminants eat. Example 4, fig and wasp. Here plants and animals are closely associated. The inflorescence of the fig is pollinated by wasps, and the wasps lay their eggs inside the inflorescence where the eggs get warmth and protection. So both the partners are again benefited here. Example 5, rhizobium and legumes. Though it is a plant example, but I have included here to explain how mutualism works. Here, all the members of Leguminaceae possess nodules on their roots, and these nodules hold a bacterium called Rhizobium leguminosarum, and these bacteria secrete an enzyme called nitrogenase, which catalyzes the reduction of free nitrogen into ammonium, and the process is called nitrogen fixation. Here, the bacterium gets food and shelter, while the plants are benefited by nitrogen fixation. Then example 6, mycorrhiza. It is an association of soil fungus with roots of conifers, and the fungus absorbs the water and minerals from the soil, passes the same to plants. In turn, the plants provide sugars to the fungus, thus both are benefited. And there is also an association between algae with various animal groups. For example, the photosynthetic algal cells in the protective ectoderm of green hydra and those with turbellarians, molluscans, annelids, bryozoans, rotifers, protozoans, and egg capsules of salamanders. The algae provide oxygen, benefiting the animals, which in turn gets carbon dioxide and nitrogen. Then next example, mammals, birds and plants. The seeds, fruits, even entire plants become attached to feathers or fur of these animals, or ingested seeds are eaten and eliminated unharmed with the fecal matter or the feces. Here, the plants are benefited as they are dispersed to different places, while the animals are benefited as they eat such plant materials. The next example, hermit crabs and sea anemones. It is one of the classical example for mutualism. Hermit crab is actively moving marine crab living inside the dead or emptied gastropodon shells, hence called hermit crab. The meaning of the term hermit refers to a sage. Normally a sage is not having any own house. He is to live in other places. It always carries one or more sea anemones on its shell. It lacks chitinous exoskeleton and gets protection from the stinging cells of the sea anemone. On the other hand, sea anemones are sessile animals and cannot exhibit active movement, and they are benefited by getting free transportation to different places and get plenty of food. So it is one of the classical example for mutualism. So here let me show you some photographs showing mutualism, and as I said, it is an interaction between two living organisms of different species. Here some examples are shown. The first one being on the left hand side, ants and aphids. Ants feed on the sugary honeydew left behind by aphids, and in turn aphids gets protection provided by ants from predator and parasites. And on the right hand side you observe there is an honeybee with a flower, and a kind of butterfly is found to be getting the benefit from the flower. So it is an associationship between a plant and an animal. In the first one, where the honeybee is going to be benefited by feeding on the nectar of the flowers, and in turn the pollen grains adhering to the wings and legs of these honeybees gets dispersed to different places and helps in what you call pollination. Same thing happens in the relationship between butterfly and a flower. So this is a slide showing some other examples of mutualism, where in the first slide on the top you observe a crocodile has opened its mouth, and inside the mouth of that crocodile a bird entered, and that bird eats all the food materials that is adhering between the tooth of this crocodile. So the crocodile gets mouth cleaned from food residues, whereas the plover bird, which is there inside the mouth of that crocodile, gets food residues from the teeth of this crocodile. So both are benefited. And in the bottom line you observe two diagrams, where one is said to be a diagram showing buffalo with a cattle egret, where cattle egret feeds on the ticks or the mites that are adhering to the body of these buffaloes, and in turn the buffaloes gets benefited. And on the right hand side of this bottom line you see the association between hermit crab and sea anemone. Then commensalism. It is one of the where one of the partner is benefited and the other partner is neither benefited nor harmed. Example, shark and remora, that is suckerfish, vanda and mango tree, a plant example, and anemone fishes or clownfishes and sea anemone. So here in this slide, you observe a photo showing the commensalism relationship between clownfish and sea anemone, and on the right hand side, shark and suckerfish. In the first photograph, that is between clownfish and sea anemone, clownfish lives amid the tentacles of the anemones, which protects them from predators. You can see the clownfish there, and the sea anemone sea anemone is neither benefited nor harmed. And on the right hand side, you will observe a shark and suckerfish. Suckerfish gets the easy free food and free transportation from one place to another place by means of adhering to the body of these large fishes called shark. Whereas the shark is neither benefited nor harmed. So, commensalism, sometimes it is also referred to as sharing the same dining table. That means two people eating on the same dining table, where one may be benefited and the other one is neither benefited or nor harmed. It is an association between two different organisms in which one is benefited without any loss or gain to the another. The former is called commensal, that is one which is benefited, and the latter is called host. Such associations may be temporary or permanent, but they do not completely or physiologically dependent on each other. Example number 1, E. coli present in the human colons breaks down into non-digestible residues, prevents putrefaction, and also releases some useful vitamins. E. coli as such does not get any direct benefit. Here, man is a commensal while bacteria is a host. Next example, barnacle or balanus. It remains attached to whale and gets free transportation without harming the whales. Next example, sea anemone, that is Adamsia. It is found on the shell occupied by hermit crab, and also on clownfish. Crabs and fishes keep their predators away, as the stinging cells of the sea anemone acts as defensive structures to these animals, whereas the sea anemone is neither benefited nor harmed. Then epiphytes, plants growing on other plants. You must have heard of this epiphytic relationship between two different plant species, and it is shown in plants like orchids, where they grow on mango trees or other trees and do not harm or benefit the host but get protected from herbivorous animals. Then cattle egrets are the small birds found very close to cattle in farms. The cattle uproot the plants while grazing, and during this process, soil insects are exposed on which these egrets feed upon. Next example, protozoans like trichodine and Corona on Hydra, Verticilla, or on other aquatic animals. Remora fishes attach themselves to the bellies of the shark, swordfish, or sea turtle. The host benefits the remora when it feeds. The scraps of the food floating bulk are swept up by the remora fish. Then next example, Pinotherus. Here the pea crab lives as commensal on the mantle cavity of the sea mussels. The marine mussels or sea mussels, technically known as Mytilus, and the crab steals the food collected by the host, but the host is neither benefited nor harmed. Next example, ant nests may contain guest species of some other insects too. Then next example, some birds place their nests close to wasps bees, or ants for the protection offered by these insects. Next example, a canis, that is suckerfish. It attaches itself to the body of large fishes like sharks and gets free transportation, and the host is neither benefited nor harmed. Next, let us move on to the second type of interaction in animals, that is negative interaction. So far we have discussed positive interaction and now negative interaction. In negative interaction, one interacting partner is harmed. Sometimes both the partners are harmed too, and it includes predation, parasitism, and competition. Let us start with predation. Here, direct food relationship between two partners exist. One partner captures and feeds on the other partner, and the partner that captures and feeds is referred to as predator, and the partner that is being eaten up is referred to as a prey. Examples: tiger and deer, whale and small fishes, humans and other organisms. So predation, it is a type of negative interspecific relationship where one animal kills and devours other animals for food. Like parasitism, predation is important in community dynamics. Predator is the animal which kills another animal of different species. The latter is prey. Mostly this kind of interaction is common in carnivorous animals. As you know that carnivorous animals are the ones which are going to kill other organisms for their food, hence referred to as carnivorous. Even the plants like insectivorous plants or predator plants, that thing you must have heard of. So herbivores are not different from predators in ecological sense. Nearly 25% of insects feed on plants. They are called phytophagous. Some predators function as prey for others. For example, a frog feeds on insects. Frog in turn is being consumed by snakes, and snake is a prey for eagles or peacocks. So such a kind of associationship is also seen among some animals. That means a predator becomes a prey for another predator. Coming to some salient features of predation. Usually, predator is larger in size than the prey. Second one, in nature, the population of predator is quite small as compared to their prey population, so that the prey is never completely removed from the environment. It's a kind of ecological balance. Prey has high reproductive potential, that is, the prey without predation pressure, its population would exponentially increase beyond carrying capacity of the environment. Say for example, if the number of prey animals is not going to be removed or killed by predators, then there will be a very great or abnormal increase in the number of prey in a community or in an environment. Therefore, predation is responsible to keep the prey population well below carrying capacity of the environment. Next character. If predator is too active and exploits its prey, then prey population becomes extinct, which in turn leads to extinction of predator. To reduce the predation pressure, the prey might follow the following things. Number one, it develops typical colors to hide its surroundings, that is, it exhibits camouflage, that is, to avoid being detected by predator. Example, frogs and butterflies. Some butterflies deposit poison in their body and hence are distasteful to their predators, and they gain these chemicals during their larval stage from poisonous weeds. Next, predators have special adaptations to capture and consume their prey. It includes agility, strength, catching, and tearing capacities. Predators hunt only when it is necessary for them to procure food. Say, for example, if it is not hungry, then even a prey is lying or present very close to the predator, it will not kill them. Like the predators, the prey also has its certain defensive specializations. The prey risk is determined by the density of the prey population, availability of the food, and protective cover, movement, activity habits, size, age, strength, and escape reaction of prey. Example, frog and grasshopper. Here we have to observe a kind of relationship, what is called predation here. Frog is a predator on grasshopper, and with reference to the snake and frog relationship, snake becomes a predator and frog becomes a prey. And again, a rat snake becomes a prey for a predator for a rat. And a snake becomes a prey for an hawk and deer and tiger. So these are the photographs showing the predation by different animal groups. And the first image of the photo, a tiger eats deer and gets food, and deer is being killed by tiger. So here tiger is the predator and deer is the prey. Then tiger and deer. So this is the another example. And here in the right hand side you observe that for the same prey, different animals are going to compete. That is, prey will be eaten up by predators. And on the top left corner of the image or the slide, you observe a lion is eating a prey. And on the bottom line you observe a whale is a predator and small fishes are the prey animals for these whales. So this is another good example for prey-predator relationship. So dear students, with this let me stop at this level and let us continue in the next class. Thank you.